Hey guys, my name is Haley, and today I'm finally, because I meant to do this a month ago, am filming my reaction to the Cinderella's Castle digital ticket. I am also, as a reminder, somebody who saw it live. I have a whole nother video about that. If you have not seen it, I will leave it linked down below. But I also want to preface this by saying I am not going to be showing any clips of the digital ticket itself because it is behind a paywall. I will leave a link down below that you can rent it until October 8th. If you see this before October 8th, run to go get it before it's gone. But yeah, I have a whole list of notes. I think I'm probably going to split this up between part one with act one and then part two being act two because my notes are extensive, as might be expected. But yeah, I tried to do like timestamps if you do have the digital ticket. I didn't do great at that, but if you're familiar enough with the show at this point and have watched the digital ticket multiple times, you will probably know what I'm talking about at certain points. But let's get right on into it. I also guess you could come back and watch this after the Pro Shot comes out, which I believe will be next year. We don't know when. We're guessing. I personally am guessing January or February based on their timeline of how they do things usually, but and that's just coming from a person who has watched Starkid do this over and over and over for like 15 years. So we'll see if my guess is correct. But I'm going to jump into my notes, and my very first note is just Jeff in eyeliner, or guyliner, if you will, which prepares us for the rest of these notes. Because it really was. I remember mentioning this in my other video about Cinderella's Castle right after I saw it live, and it was I don't think it really hit me that I was seeing them until Jeff walked out on stage for Castle on a Hill. Like he really was like, oh holy shit, this is happening. You're real and you're right there. So that was my aha moment for when I saw this, but it hit pretty much the same watching the digital ticket as well. My next note is the sweet tooth energy of the narrator gives me life, which I fully agree with the people who are saying that Sweet Tooth welcome back in 2024 because there is so much of Sweet Tooth. If you didn't know, Sweet Tooth is Starkid'S character, like Joker-esque character from their show Holy Musical Batman. If you've never seen Holy Musical Batman and are only a Hatchetfield stan and somehow ended up here, you probably have no idea what I'm talking about. But for the longest time, Holy Musical Batman was my favorite Starkid show until Black Friday came out. So seeing like the glimpses of Jeff's sweet tooth, like mischievous character coming back was very exciting for me, and I love how goofy but also serious, but mostly goofy the narrator is while he is telling the story, because I think it adds to a comic relief for how serious this show is and how kind of terrifying the show is. So I feel like his character being as goofy as it is very helpful. Also, if you see me looking down, I'm looking at my iPad, which is literally right below you, and I'm looking at all of my notes, and there's so many, we're going to be here for a while, which is why I split it up into two. And as far as lyrics go, in this one I pointed out the choreographed movement on the stories that shudder, where they're like doing this move. I don't know. I'm not a dancer. Please don't hold me to that. But the stories that shudder and who really loved her. That move that Lauren choreographed is probably my favorite move in the show. There's so much good choreography in this one, but that one really gets me every single time I see it. It fits the music perfectly. It fits the lyrics perfectly, and the way Jeff sings it, perfect. Love it. If you hear me randomly singing lyrics, it's because I want you to know what part I'm talking about. Because next up I have a queen in her vanity, a beast in his agony. That line makes me want a whole backstory on what this Beauty and the Beast as like love story is. I'm guessing it's for the old king and whoever his queen was. I want to know the lore, which is a common theme in a lot of these notes, because using Kurt and Kim as the characters in that scene very quickly to talk about the beast in his agony, I want to know what happened there. Somebody please tell me. Nick and Matt Lang. Give me the lore, thank you. Next up I have the harmonies are like 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 they're perfect in the song. The harmonies they added, like having all of the cast able to sing it. As much as I love the demo of Jeff by himself singing all of the harmonies and stuff, hearing the whole cast sing the harmonies, magical. Then I wrote down the sweet tooth in Jeff's voice when he says "Let's go" at the very end. Perfect. Love it. 10 out of 10. Never been done before. I also, on my like third or fourth, I don't know how loud my laugh is in this mic. We're going to find out because I'm going to be giggling a lot in this one. Um, I had a whole thing I added to my notes. I wrote these notes like a month ago when I first watched the digital ticket. So it was the second and third times that I watched the show in total because I had also seen it live. And then I added to them this time as I was rewatching it, just to as a refresher for my brain. And as someone who's also like somewhat active on Starkid Twitter, I saw a lot of people right after the show happened doing those like ask me anything like anonymous commentary on like their opinions on Cinderella's castle, and there were so many people complaining about Jeff's vocals. Which as a Jeff stan, I hate using that term even as a K-pop person. But as Jeff is probably my favorite person in Starkid other than Dylan. Jeff and Dylan have always been my favorites, like since they've been here. Not only am I personally offended by that, but also it feels like it's coming from a place of people who have never done theater and have never done multiple days and weeks of shows. Because what they're claiming is that he writes songs out of his range. And I also like to point out to people who say that Jeff has like two entirely different ranges. He has his regular like belting range, and then he has his head voice range. And I know a lot of people don't like his head voice. I don't understand, but a lot of people don't like it, which is fine. You're entitled to your opinion. But when he's the songwriter of the show and you say he's writing songs out of his own range, that doesn't make any sense to me. It's also coming from people who have never done a show, and people are saying that it's out of his range because his voice cracks a couple of times in Castle on a Hill. And as someone who there's a show that one of my theaters around me when I used to do a shit ton of community theater did every year, and that's Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat. We did that show 5 times a week for 4 weeks. Do you know who lost their voice every single time I did Joseph? Not to mention the 3 months of rehearsals beforehand and tech week, which is every day the week before opening. Do you know how many times I lost my voice, even as a non-professional? I lost my voice every year, and I did that show for 4 years. So people who are saying like, oh, this doesn't happen to like Broadway performers, yes, it does. We just don't see it because the way that Starkid allows us to see more of their like rehearsal process and performance process more than any other theater that I know of personally. There are definitely people on Broadway having voice cracks. We just don't see it because they do like 7, 8, 9 shows a week, and only a certain amount of people can go see it every day. If somebody has a voice crack on like a Tuesday night show, we didn't hear about it because they don't want to talk about it. So people claiming that professionals, as Starkid is, don't have voice cracks and don't have like off nights. Do you think they're robots? And I'll jump off of that soapbox with that. I'll leave you there. Moving on from Castle on a Hill, I love that we've all been begging to know who that old man puppet was. Me and everyone else combined. And us finally having an answer of what my guess was, that Joey was the one who was going to control that puppet, which in fact he was very exciting. But also realizing that he is essentially like their, for lack of a better term, McNamara. And I get the vibe that he is going to be the character, Ragweed is going to be the character who comes back at some point in every single one of the shows, like makes an appearance, does something, leaves. I feel like that's going to be Ragweed. That was the vibe I got from his character. I could be wrong, but it was 100% the vibe I got from Ragweed. Because I felt like For as important and how much like the cast and Joey were trying so hard not to give us spoilers on who it was and who was playing him, but also he was used so little in this show that I have the feeling that he's going to be a very important character in the lands that are series of shows. I also wrote down next that it took me until my third watch to realize that the Whippoorwills are called that because they're the band and they make the music. If you didn't know, the whippoorwill, I had to Google this, are birds. I'm not a bird person, so I didn't know this. And the fact that they're like camouflaged in the background of the stage, and that is literally what whippoorwills do. Like the bird itself is a very camouflaged bird, and they make a lot of music. Blown away. Had no idea. Didn't know this until I was making one of the bracelets for the whippoorwills to show off on Twitter, and I went, that's what that means? Holy shit. That's very clever. Next up was another commentary on Jeff telling us the story of the House of Ashmore, and it was, I want to know what the Flames of Ruination are. What happened? What did the Flames of Ruination do? Once again, Nick and Matt Lang, I need the lore. We all need the lore. I'm also wearing my shirt. I don't even know if I showed that off. I'm wearing my Cinderella's Castle shirt. I'm also very excited to get all my backer rewards. I know they said they were trying to send those out, I think, by the end of the year. I can't wait. And then I noticed in the stepmother's first scene, she makes the earliest, like, foreshadowing of later on in the show. I will point out at this point, if you're still here and you haven't realized this yet, this is all going to be spoilers. If you do not want to be spoiled, please save this video and come back to it later when it's out on YouTube to watch if you want to hear my commentary for some reason. I know a lot of people did that when I did my notes app commentary after I saw it live of people who were waiting on the digital tickets. They saved my tweet and then came back to it when the actual digital ticket was live so they could read them later. I'm hoping people do that for this because that sounds very fun, and that sounds like something I would do if I didn't or I hadn't already seen the show. But anyways, the stepmother makes a very, very obvious, now that I've seen it like 6 or 7 times, comment about what happens later on the show and where, if you didn't know, you're in the wrong place. Please, bye-bye, leave. But she talks about how she's going to cut off Ella's foot, and she literally makes that comment when she's in with the butcher. And I was like, blown away that there was that early of foreshadowing for later in the show. It was wild to me. I loved it so much. It was such good writing on Nick and Matt's part. And then my last comment for this whole scene between Castle on a Hill and Curse Crazy is Joey's character, like the Sir Preston, the man, the townsfolk man. The scene of his that has stayed in my brain, and the way that he said it, of when she's trying to convince him that her stepmother is a troll, and he's just like, he goes, Ella, no. Like that vocal inflection of him saying that and his facial expression has like lived as an intrusive thought in my brain since I saw it live, because it was so funny. Joey is hilarious, but like some of his lines in this are so good. I love it so much. Oh god, we've been filming for 15 minutes and I'm only through like the first scene and a half. This is gonna be so much fun to edit. Anyways, we're on to Curse Crazy. Curse Crazy was my favorite of the demos. That and Ash to Ash. Which you'll see my extensive notes on that scene. But anyway, Curse Crazy stands by as I used to say that when I first heard like the demo in the live streams for the Kickstarter, I said that this song sounds like you could just hear it on any K-pop album. Like it sounds like a K-pop song to me. Harmonies with the full cast are so good. The like split up between Jeff and all of the townsfolk and the way they did that, perfect. I love particularly one of Mariah's lines. I can't even think of it off the top of my head, but there's one where Mariah ends one of the verses and the way she does it sounds so good. And like the hand movements, the choreo in this is fantastic. Like especially the circling at the end of like, this is very like Belle from Beauty and the Beast, where the townfolk are all just like talking shit about her while she walks through them, and this one of them circling her. as they're singing the song. The choreo for it is so good, and I'm so impressed with Lauren in this show, not only from her perspective as an actor in this one, but also her choreography blew me away. And also, my favorite line in Curse Crazy is "Got you fucked or faded," because it's such a good line. And some of the lyrics in this blow me away, and you'll hear me comment on a lot of it because, again, big fan of Jeff, but also his lyrics have gotten so good and so perfect for each show the more he writes. Next up, we have another scene with the prince, and I again stated, as I did in my last videos, I cannot express to you how well Nick and Matt's writing of the script, with the addition of James's acting as the prince, is the perfect combination of both loving him and hating his guts. It is the perfect amount of man humor for it to still be funny to most people. And I don't know how they did it. I don't know if they had like sensitivity readers. Like, that's what I would do in that situation of, do you think this is funny? But also ask enough people, because a lot of people aren't going to find certain things funny. So I'm wondering how much the script of what the prince says changed over time to have gotten it to the point that they did, because it's fantastic. I also love the headcanon. This is completely from Twitter. There's a headcanon on Twitter that the prince and Thaddeus have dated in the past, or have at least slept together, because of how horny the prince is. And that's why Thaddeus can't fucking stand him and refuses to laugh at his jokes, and why the prince is so annoyed with Thaddeus and not laughing at his stuff. I love this headcanon. It might not be true. I don't know that Nick and Matt will ever confirm that, but I find it hilarious. And then we have the prince meeting Ella, and the fact that they met in the shit river, as is so eloquently stated later in the show, is comedy gold. There's also the second they meet and like he is done shitting. A line that I never thought I would say about a musical. There's the call forward that Matt Dahan does a lot in the show. If you didn't know, he's the keyboardist, and he does a lot of the like musical interludes throughout the show of like any of the speaking scenes. And he does a whole call forward to Neon, even this early on in the show, because it pertains to the Prince and Ella and the ball. And I thought it was genius when I noticed that's what he was doing. And he does this a lot with a lot of shows. He does it a lot with Ash to Ash as well in the show. And I love Matt Dahan. He does this a lot with Nightmare Time as well, which I always loved. And I'm so glad he's kept doing it. And then I had a comment on the set, actually, is I love the like stage genius of having the castle on a hill. The royal castle up in the corner of and forward on the proscenium, or like the stage, and having it there all the time and having it lit up a lot anytime they're outside, as if the castle is up on the hill and you can see it, but if they're inside you can't see it at all. I love it. That is such genius stage like composition. I love the way they like played with like depth and such on the stage, as well as the lights. And that is, I believe, Lex, Kieran and Wyatt, and Bill Garrett were some of the scenic designers. So I give absolute props to them. They were so good and they did so well. I also saw in their behind the scenes thing, if you didn't know, on Instagram, they've been posting these reels of like the behind the scenes of the people who've worked on the show, both the actors and the behind the scenes people. And one of the wig designer and everything has said that they had a lot of inspiration from drag queens, and I feel like this is no better stated than with Angela's wig. Angela's wig looks so good in the lighting and on the stage, and I can't wait to see close-ups and such of it, but Angela's wig is perfect. I'm obsessed with it. And then we're on to the first scene with one of the trolls, which is the stepmother. And I wanted to talk about the echo they used. They used this a couple times in the show, but specifically with the first scene with the stepmother as she comes out in her like troll form. The like demonic, for lack of a better term, echo is so effective and makes the scene so much creepier. I also feel like I have become somewhat familiar with Starkid'S like editing tactics and the way they film things and shoot certain scenes, that I can almost see the way that they're going to shoot a lot of the troll scenes specifically. Because obviously those puppets look very different from a visual like in-person perspective and how it will show up on camera. And I cannot wait to see the way that it's edited and shot for that reason alone, because I think these puppets are going to pop so well on camera. Most of my comments were on to Step on Your Grave now. Most of my comments are John as the little baby Sir Hopalot frog is so cute. Sir Hopalot is adorable. Everybody going, oh, when he walks on stage. This is the cutest thing. And then also Step on Your Grave was like not one of my favorites when it came to the demos, but hearing Bryce sing it specifically made it like shoot way higher on my list, because she sings the crap out of it. And she's so impressive in this scene. And like it adds so much to Ella's character, seeing her like rage and like irritation outside of the like timid sides of her that we've seen so far in the show. I love this scene so much. Also the lighting and the way it drops the second the song ends when she stops singing. The lighting on this stage, the lighting designer deserves all of the stars because it was so good in this show. And then I have the scene where the prince is announcing the ball, or rather, Thaddeus is announcing the ball. And I wrote down, I fucking love the prince. He's a fucking asshole man child and gives hard Lord Farquaad vibes in this scene in particular. Like when he's literally counting, he's going, say 3, 2, 1. And Thaddeus is like, why? He's like, say 3, 2, 1. And then he like slides down the thing going, wee! Like it gives such Lord Farquaad from Shrek vibes. And I love it so much. It's so funny. Next up, I have the commentary on the stepsister trolls. We have Lauren's Buggette voice is the cutest thing I've ever heard. I love that she reused this voice for Buggette, which, if you didn't know, is a character of theirs from Starship. And Buggette's only in a couple of scenes in that show, so I'm not shocked that she decided to reuse one of the voices, but it fits Ransilda so well. And how this annoying little sister vibes, I love it. I also love how, like, just gross and, like, horny Putress is. She's, like, the definition of an older sister who's just done with her little sister and so sick of her shit. Like, the sibling dynamic of both of the stepsisters is perfect. As an older sister myself, it is very accurate. Especially of their like not being able to stand each other, but the second that they have to agree on something to stand against Ella is the I can make fun or pick of my sister, but fuck you, you cannot. The most accurate sibling rivalry I've ever seen. And then my comment in this is you can tell, I feel like, and not in a bad way, but just in a way that you can tell who's worked with puppets before and who has not. Because I feel like Lauren in particular has, you could tell she's worked with puppets like at least since college, if not before that, because she is so good at manipulating that puppet and keeping her face like focused in on what she needs to do, but by also acting with her face with this puppet. I love it. Like I give absolute props to anybody who works with puppets because they're hard as shit to work with. But you can definitely tell that Lauren has worked with puppets quite a bit more than a lot of the other people with puppets in this show. Her and Joey, you can tell they've worked a shit ton with puppets in the past. And then we get to Last Forever. This song has shot up to one of my favorites. Like, it is battling Curse Crazy for second place. Because for me, as a soprano, which is my generally like normal vocal range, is the perfect range for me to sing. And it's so fun to sing. I have been singing it nonstop, and my boyfriend is very annoyed. The show also does so much for like female trio songs, which if you didn't know, you're not familiar with Broadway, are few and far between. They are not very common, and the fact that there are 2 great female trio songs in the show, and if not a third one that comes in later that's shorter. I love that Jeff went, you know what we need to write? A female trio song. There's not enough of those. I agree. Also, Bryce is Ella. Ella is so cute in this song. She's just so happy and so adorable, and Lucy and Justine are so cute. I also love the like sibling dynamic in this one of Justine and Lucy, of Justine being the like goody two shoes, like super prim and proper, like almost religious older sister of just like perfect church girl, done with her little sister. Her little sister likes to joke about like sex and stuff, and she's like, we can't talk about boys, that's not allowed. Like I love Justine in the same way that I love like Ransilda and Putress's like dynamic. They also have a very similar dynamic in which the sibling stuff is just so well done and written. I also just love Lucy's character of her, like, crude little jokes of just, like, waiting in the shit river and, like, talking about dicks and everything and boys. It's so cute. And also the harmonies in this song and Last Forever are so good. The female trio harmonies are so good. I'm so excited to have more female trio songs because they don't exist. And then I have a bunch of lore questions of when Ella is telling Justine and Lucy about how her mother ended up where she did and how she was hanged. And it's the comments of Lady Ashmore was by this tree for some reason with a stillborn baby. And they thought she had murdered this baby, was what the town thought. But she was giving this baby as like an offering to the gods or something. And I'm like, was it to the Fairy Queen of Sweet Dreams? Did she know about the true gods and not like the man made gods? Why was she dancing naked with five fires? The five fires really stuck out to me as a Hatchetfield stand, with knowing that there are five lords in black, and that is a lot of Nick and Matt's MO for gods or demons, if you will, when it comes to the lords in black. Like, why are there five? Does that mean we're gonna get five of the true gods? Like, is the Fairy Queen of Sweet Dreams, or what do they actually call her? The goddess of all that is green and good? Is she one of the five gods? I have so many questions. I would love to pick Nick and Matt's brain for a day. Maybe longer. I also love in this scene that obviously earlier on in the show you see anybody Ella tries to tell about her stepmother, even if she tries to word it so she sounds less crazy, don't believe her. So the fact that Justine and Lucy immediately believe her is such a big relief in this scene because we're like, oh shit, her friends aren't going to believe her. It's going to suck. But the fact that they immediately believe her and go, yeah, no, our brother hunts trolls. Again, I want that lore. I want to know why her brother's a troll hunter and where and how that happened. But also the absolute despair, like the excitement of us learning that they believe her and they're going to take her away from this place and like save her, to not even 30 seconds later the stepmother walking out on stage, and the absolute just despair from the audience knowing what's about to happen and that she's going to kill her friends is so sad. It's so sad. And then we have a comment I know I made in my other video of the juxtaposition of Lucy and Justine to Ransilda and Putris between Last Forever and Facade is such like beyond extreme genius when it comes to theater for me. To see these cute, sweet, like very young, very like prim and proper girls turn into skin suits for the two trolls who are very crude and annoying and mean and like just want to kill people. Genius to have those scenes right after each other. I also made the comment of Lauren's commitment to holding up her dress like above her knees at all times as Ransilda is so funny to me. It's such a stage choice and it fits Ransilda so well. I also made a comment here that Angela sounds incredible in Facade. Facade has, again, I really liked the demo, but hearing, again, the three girls sing it, female trio songs, it's also such an interesting song for theater. Like, there's not a whole lot like it. It's very, like, Madonna-esque, especially, like, the bridge part of it. The hands up, chest back, tits forward, like, whatever the lyrics are, that one. That part is very, like, Madonna, like, almost Honey Queen-esque, for those of you who have seen Nightmare Time. I also particularly love the song You Wanted a Dom, But You'll Be Destroyed from Lauren. Like, I'm just imagining, are we, in this case, assuming that the stepsisters are doms in bed if they were to have sex with a human? It makes sense with the matriarchy and, like, what trolls do is rip off the heads of, like, their partners. But also, it's a great line. And then I have all of my notes on the Fairy Queen of Sweet Dreams scene. Even before Ash to Ash, so many comments. So buckle in, we're already at 30 minutes and we got at least another 15. This part is going to be me begging Nick and Matt for the lore drops. Please and thank you. So we know that the Fairy Queen of Sweet Dreams, for some reason, is also known as the goddess of all that is green and good. I don't know which one she actually wants to be called by. I would like clarification there, or if she just has multiple names, like a lot of gods do. Also, the Ash to Ash music interlude that is like dropped here and there throughout the show by Matt Dahan. So good. Kim's costume, I cannot express to you enough as someone who saw it live before she even started singing. Sorry, I get too gestury with my hands and then I forget I'm holding a mic. Before she even started singing, the second that she walked out on stage, that audience, including myself in the second row, lost their minds. Like, I can't express to you how good she looks in person. And I'm hoping it transfers to camera when they do the pro shot, because you can definitely tell in the digital ticket, but I cannot wait to see the close-up details of her costume. I swear to you, I did not look away from her the entire time she was on stage. I don't even know what else happened in Ash to Ash. Like, I couldn't focus on the choreo. I couldn't focus on anything but her during that scene. So I was very excited to actually see what the fuck was going on the rest of the stage in the digital ticket for Ash to Ash, because I didn't see any of that in person because I was on Kim's side of the stage and she was right there and I could not look away from her. She was that ethereal. Especially in that lighting and that costume and that makeup and that hair. Incredible. Also, again, props to the makeup designer, who I believe is the same makeup designer they had for Nerdy Prudes Must Die, who did Max's makeup for, like, Ghost Max from Nerdy Prudes. Some of the best makeup I've ever seen in theater. And I was so excited to see that transferred to other characters, including the Fairy Queen in particular. Then I have written down the lights, the music, Kim's costume, the headdress. The headdress is beautiful. They all scream, "I am Mother," which is a line of hers in that scene, with the echoey voice effect that adds so much to her scene and her voice in this. The scene is just so good. And I'm going to watch it 10,000 times when it comes to YouTube. I have already rewatched that part more times than the rest of the digital ticket combined. I will say that. And then here's commentary on a lot of the certain lines that are said in this scene. I like the idea of a god not knowing man's version of the gods is fascinating to me as an ex-church person myself. I don't talk about that on here a lot, but I'm hoping to talk about it more in the future, so spoilers. But the fact when she asks, like, Ella asks her if she's Thedra, which is apparently, like, what seems to be a Jesus-esque character, from what I gathered. She says there's a statue of Thedra in, like, every church in the land. And the Fairy Queen goes, "Who is Thedra? I don't know who that is. That sounds like a made-up story by man." Love that concept. I also like the comment that there are 9 good gods, which to me implies that there are bad gods. Also, to learn that this society is not monotheistic, there are multiple gods, even known to the menfolk, as well as the gods that actually exist, who are not the same as the ones that the men believe in. And then the line that blew me away in person as well as every time I hear it is, "The gods are not good nor evil, they simply are, and they are beyond your judgment." As someone who grew up in a religious cult in which it is a monotheistic of the Christian God and that is it and nothing else exists, and he is a jealous God and he will get angry if you worship anything else or anyone else. The idea of gods are not good or evil, they do not abide by men's laws, they just exist, and they are beyond your judgment. Like, we cannot judge the gods, they are on a whole nother plane of existence. I love it so much and think it is so clever. And then another line of the Fairy Queens is, "I've seen many gods rise and fall, all of them false," which means the gods that the menfolk keep creating are not real and are not really, do not seem to be based on the actual gods of this world. Then they say, "More lies from the race of men," because men like to make up gods that benefit them and no one else. That line slaps is literally what I wrote in my notes. Also, is the trying to understand how she was summoned. It seems to me that she was summoned by the blood of the innocent, which I'm assuming is what Ella's mom was trying to do with the stillborn baby, and I don't understand why it didn't work with her, but unless it was because she was interrupted and Ella wasn't, I don't understand what happened there. I also want to know who imprisoned the god in the realm of death, as the Fairy Queen likes to state. Like, Who put her there? And how? And who had the power to do that? I also love in this entire show that Ella's main goal is revenge, which is so refreshing and a fairy tale retelling. It's all we all want romance and we all want the happily ever no. Ella wants revenge. She doesn't even really care about the romance part of it or being a part of the kingdom or ruling the kingdom or meeting boys. She just wants revenge on her stepmother and her stepsisters, which is such a breath of fresh air. I also will comment on Sir Hop a lot. He's such a fun character. My boyfriend likes to call him the Starkid'S version of Kermit, but much more serious. He really liked the knighting scenes and everything with Sir Hop a lot. And then I have so many comments of every time Crumb is on stage, just me going, he is the cutest fucking thing I've ever seen. I know we're getting a Sir Hop a lot plushie as one of our like rewards, like backer rewards for the Kickstarter. I want a Crumb plushie so bad. So bad. Please. Whoever's in charge of that, please. Also, casting the tallest man in the cast as the smallest puppet character will never not be funny to me. Joey is 6'3", and he plays like a foot tall mouse. It's so funny. Also, I have no idea how that tiny little Scottish accent voice comes out of Joey Richter. I've heard Joey do a lot of voices over the years. I've never heard that one come out of him, and I don't know where it came from, but I love it. Then here are my comments on the actual song of Ash to Ash. We have, so the fairy queen can travel beyond states, space and time and all things. So she can travel through space and time, which makes sense as a god because time means nothing to them because that's how she gets the trappings of starlight at the end of time, which is very Doctor Who-esque to me as someone who's a big fan of that show. And then Kim's voice with the echo quality they added to the song sounds literally ethereal. I know it sounds incredible on tape, on video. Again, cannot express to you how good she sounded live. Cannot express. Blown away. I've seen a lot of theater in my life. I've literally seen Broadway shows. That is the most blown away I've ever been, I'm pretty sure, in my life, was hearing Kim sing Ash Ash. Is that biased? I don't know. Maybe. But holy shit. Oh, I also had the comment of the understudies as the Fairy Queen's extra arms. I was sitting in the second row and I could see them behind her, but I couldn't quite see the effect they were going for because of the angle I was at. I could like see them laid out this way. So seeing that and the fact that they're her extra arms in the background on the video for the digital ticket was incredible. It was so fun to see like the full effect of it, like straight on the way you're supposed to. And then my favorite line in the show, so simple, but so perfect, and that is the, I forge you these 3 gifts, use them, and she goes, wisely, like asking her if she's supposed to use them wisely, because that's what a normal goddess that is granting you gifts would do in most stories. And she goes, hardly. Like, she does not give a shit if you use it wisely or unwisely. She just wants you to use them for whatever it is you're trying to do, in which Ella's case is revenge. I love it. And as someone who grew up obsessed with like the concept of the Christian God and all of that, in which you have to do good, hearing a God who does not care if it's good or bad or adhere to men's morality, love it. The idea of a God who just wants to allow people to enact their revenge and has no regard for human rules or morality is such a good concept. That's literally what I wrote in my notes. Also, the chorus and the choreo of the townsfolk and the way they have, I don't know if you can tell in the video, but they definitely have like shiny clear gloves on, as well as their hoods and everything. And the shiny clear gloves remind me a lot. If anybody who's familiar with the show Seussical, I know Mariah is in particular. She loves Seussical. I also love Seussical. Seussical is one of my favorite shows I was ever in. And there's the song called Having a Hunch, and in that one it was a really interesting thing in theater in which they had glow in the dark like hands and shoes in a blackout stage, and they did all of their choreo with just the glow in the dark bits of like their hands and shoes and tap dance. This gave me a little bit of a vibe of that, in that the way their hands and those gloves catch the light is so cool. And you can see it a lot better in person. So I'm interested to see if the camera picks it up as well in like post production as they edit it for YouTube. I also keep saying, oh, my favorite line in the show. I have another one. My other favorite is probably the most clever line to me, as this is a Cinderella retelling, is the "I shall wrap thee in these cinders, L," which is one of the Fairy Queen's last lines. That is genius for a show about Cinderella. Is that she's literally wrapping her in the cinders of the House of Ash. Will never not blow me away. I also, in my last commentary on Act 1, love that Jeff pops out as the narrator at the end of the song. After being a part of the choreo, like if you pay attention, he is one of the dancers in the cloaks with the shiny gloves on. It's such a good touch of like just to end the scene. Because obviously he's been narrating the whole show, to end the act with him coming out and just going as the narrator, singing along to the song as if he's a part of the show. A plus. A plus stage direction, A plus writing, A plus song. Love it. And that is my wrap up on Act 1 of Cinderella's Castle. If you enjoyed this, my second part should be up in the next couple of days, I'm hoping, within like 2 or 3 days. Depends on how fast I can edit these 47 plus minutes. But I hope you all enjoyed this. Thank you all for watching. If you have any commentary on lore or questions, or would like to talk about the show with somebody who has seen it, because we're trying to avoid spoilers in other places of the internet, this is the comment section below. Please talk to me. I would love to talk about the show. Thank you all for watching, and I will see all of you guys next time.